Today on Max's Island, I'm joined in the studio by Michael Ward. Welcome to the island.
Thank you for having me, man.
We welcome new guests to the island all the time and really look forward to the story they're going to tell of that time in their life where they may have done something for themselves, where life might have thrown them a curveball, or they just decided to follow a passion and change what they were doing. Have you got that time in your life where that may have occurred and it changed everything?
Yeah, I do, and it's a fairly heavy conversation, if that's going to be okay.
It's all up to you. Whatever you want to share with us.
Yeah, and I guess it's not that I've held off talking about this for any great reason. It's just that I probably haven't been asked, right? And a big fan of you and what you do, man. And so this is a real honor to kind of share that story. But so there was a very definitive moment, and I was in a very dark place, and I had a lot of issues where I was really questioning my purpose at all, right? And I just couldn't see a way out. In all honesty, I just couldn't figure out how to get out of this feeling that I was in. I was, and this is a number of years ago. I had, some young kids, and I was just stuck, and I really felt like, that feeling of like being like really, really heartbroken for whatever reason. But it was like that permanently, and I just couldn't shake it, and I just couldn't find happiness or any sort of purpose to anything. And it got pretty extreme, and I didn't know how to handle things, and I didn't know I just didn't know any other way. And I actually got to the point where I said goodbye to a few people, and I took myself off to a place by the beach, and I thought this was going to be it. I will just fade away, and it felt very right. It felt like this was very much the thing to do, and so I got there, and I was relatively calm. And I was in a hot shower. That's how I was going to go. I was just going to fade away, right? And what I couldn't get over, I could get over a lot of the things around this topic, but what I couldn't get over is my sons and their reaction to understanding what's happened. And I felt like it was the right decision for them, right? But I couldn't get over their reaction in my mind, and that was the only thing in that moment where I went, I should try a bit harder to not do this. I need to give this another crack. And I felt like I'd taken a long process to get there. But if there was a defining moment where a lot changed for Michael Ward, it was in that shower by the beach. And I just decided that a lot had to change. Otherwise, I'd end up back there.
The moments leading up to that, you said there was a period of time leading up to it. At any point in time, did you think about that at that time, or was it just a gradual build, that one moment in time where you went, okay, I'm now here, I need to do something?
Yeah, it was an evolution, and it was like I don't know, like a storm rolling in or whatever. Like I could feel this presence, this time was coming, like and almost unstoppable, right? Like and all these things that I feel like up to that point that I had tried to do or tried to, so it's weird, right? I was in a period of time where I didn't really feel like I was in reality, and I was really grappling with what is real, and a lot of what I was perceiving, and that may or may not have been real. A lot of what I was perceiving didn't make sense to me, and everywhere I went for answers only reinforced the lack of reality compared to what made sense to me. And so there was a build up to it, and it wasn't like it was a snap decision or anything like that. This was very much the seed had been planted for some time, and I went through quite a number of things around that, rationalizing it, like that idea, like, all right, like, how do I do that? What are the implications of that? Michael, like, think about this, think about that, and there was a whole spectrum of things that I considered quite thoughtfully, before ending up that night.
Had there been any significant failures in your life for the couple of years before that? Was there something that you career-wise had done personally, anything like that where you felt, actually, I'm just not up to this, or I made a mistake?
Well, I mean, thousands, but none. I had, look, yes, I'd made mistakes, and like relationships mistakes, and and things, and I wish I'd been, a better son and better brothers, and all those sorts of things, right? But I nothing that I would say is individually life changing or noteworthy, right? I went into a business in a field that I was very well experienced and qualified with, and that was probably another part of it, and that didn't fail, but that ended in a very unsavory way. But having said that itself, as disappointing as that wasn't, I think, really the any sort of main contributing factor to it. So, yeah. I mean, I and this is, I guess, part of what I didn't understand is that I was in my 30s. I was a far more attractive man than what I am now. I was, relatively successful at what I was doing, and financially, and all these things that, and this is, I guess, the message that people were saying is like what on earth is your problem? And like how can you feel that way? Like look at you, like, you're all these things, these tick boxes that, like, you should be on top of the world, like, you're so lucky. And I didn't feel or associate with any of them. None of them were actually things that I really valued. And the Michael Ward that I wanted to be wasn't allowed. That was probably the biggest disassociation, is that who I wanted to be wasn't a person that anyone in my networks was really either willing to accept, or in my head wasn't willing to accept me for.
So you shared it with a few people beforehand?
Oh yeah, it would be a number of people. Yeah, and close people. Probably not the right people. But it's one of those things, like sometimes when you have these pretty extreme vulnerabilities, and you get knocked back a couple of times, it can really knock the wind out of you, and so you kind of don't, you don't keep pursuing that.
Did you feel that you were alone the whole time, even though you've just said that you shared and opened up to some people, may not have been quite the right people, but did it, after those conversations, did it always come back to, I'm just on my own here?
100%. Yeah, like there's no doubt in my mind that I really struggled to even just to fit in, and then that's I've probably felt that for not in an extreme way, but for the majority of my life, I have felt like I'm different. I mean, we're all unique, right? But yeah, I don't know. Tolerated, I remember, was probably being a word that I felt resonated at the time. I felt like I was being tolerated by everyone, yeah.
After the hot shower, what did you do next?
I wrote a list. I was like, all right, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna have one more crack at this, we're gonna have a real crack at it, right? We're gonna do this properly. And so I wrote a list. I was like, all right, what are all the things that, as a smart individual, I feel like if I was sitting across from someone saying this, what are all the things that I feel like I could tell that person to do to try and avoid this, right? And none of this was groundbreaking. Number one was get some help, Michael. Get some professional help, which is something I had tried once, and that person had said, like, and this is a legit professional, had said, like, what on earth is your problem? Like, you should be happy and like yada yada. So I was like, all right, maybe I just didn't interpret that session right, or maybe I should actually maybe find someone else, right? So get some professional help, understand what that process is, and then things like, all right, I need to remove myself from some people that I don't think are helping in this situation. I need to eat right, or I need to eat better. I need to look after my body better. I need to exercise better. I need to be more creative. So I kind of like, gave up alcohol and coffee and a lot of these things, and I really stripped back my life. And not that I was, necessarily super overweight or anything at the time, but I just felt like I needed, if I tick these sorts of boxes, and every day, if I get to the end of the day and I go, right, did I eat well? Did I sleep well? Did I drink water? Did I exercise? Did I associate with the right people? Was I creative today? And have I, in the course of my week or fortnight, a month or whatever, have I seen some professional help and followed their help with this? So that's the first thing I did. And I started that. After that list, I went to bed. And I was going to start with a good sleep. That was in my head what to do. And then the next morning I woke up and went for a run. And that was the start. And that was and I did that ruthlessly, almost to an extreme, right? And that made a world of difference.
Do you think that doing it to an extreme was obviously really important to you? Did you share, though, that with others to say, hey, I'm thinking different now. I need to be given some tolerance with this. I need to be given some understanding because I need to make a change.
No, is probably the short answer. I don't think I've really talked too much about any of this with many people at all. There were some people who, not long after that, I felt like were also in some troubled times, and I was like, hey, I don't know your situation, but if it helps, like, here's a little checklist of things that I did, right? And I found that helpful. And not that as with, I don't know, dudes or whatever, like we didn't really kind of dig too much into it. But there were a couple of big things where I didn't feel like I was sort of fitting in, that I did talk to a couple of people about. But that whole experience, there are very few people that, if anyone, actually knows any of this.
How long did it take for you to feel different?
I don't know. Initially, it felt good to have a plan and a purpose, and there was a lot of carnage, right? So there was a separation that was ultimately later, but that followed as part of this, and that's that's still hard, right? Because there's kids and stuff involved, and my boys don't not that they would hopefully ever understand, but I don't get to be with them as much, but the time I have with them now is phenomenal and phenomenally better, and certainly way better than what the alternative would have been. So I love my boys. They are my absolute world, and it would be more than months, but it wasn't even like a year, I'd say, and I felt like I was really empowered.
Feeling empowered is one thing. Being empowered is another. What did you do significantly. You just talked about a relationship breakdown, but what other things in your life changed dramatically for you?
Yeah, so one thing I decided is that I was gonna sing, right? And something I had never really done before. I love music, and I just decided, you know what, like I've learned lots of weird different skills in my life. Singing is a learned skill, I'm sure, right? And I may not ever be like Pavarotti or Ed Sheeran or whatever, but again, I am going to give this an absolute red hot crack. And I think, like, if you're true to yourself and you go, all right, if you were going to give it a red hot crack, it doesn't mean I'm going to practice for a couple of hours a week, right? It means, and it meant, and I did, hours a day, and self-analyzing that, recording it, listening it back, like doing a pile of shows, and putting myself out there, and song list after song list of like, all right, like what is my range, like what is this, what is that, and like getting professional singing teachers, and what singing I think helped me with is that it gave me a really great way to express myself and be creative. And I find, I don't know if it's endorphins or whatever it is that's released when you sing and you dance and you move, but those things are happening, and I was like, this is great. Scary as hell and a huge uphill battle, but yes.
So had you been creative beforehand?
I had been in bands in my teenage years and early 20s, and they were positive parts of my life. But I was on bass guitar predominantly then, and I would write songs for the band, for one of the bands in particular, a couple of the bands in particular, and I would write the guitar and bass guitar parts, and I think maybe even some of the lyrics I would have contributed to, but there was an element of the creativity with that. The creativity probably changed, like with work. I found that I was able to explore creative ways in my financial services career, if that sounds ironic, but there's still like, because I meet with people and there's different ways that you can interact with people and build relationships, and the way that you can present information and stuff like that, which I was probably using as a way to be as creative as I could in that field. But there's probably about 10 to 15 years there where creativity was really cramped. So the creativity lid absolutely blew off, and there was a mass songwriting, learning, expressing that came after that.
So you've just referenced that the creativity still can flow into a career, a day job to pay the bills and what have you. How do you balance both of those things? It's one thing to say it washes over. It's another thing to manage both of those things at the same time, so that you, as you said, your cup is full, and you get those endorphins in each situation.
Yeah, I guess I do come back to like that night by the beach in the shower fairly regularly, and it helps me put a lot of things in perspective. So my fear of failure now is so drastically different to what I think a lot of other people is, right? My care as to whether someone likes or doesn't like what I do now has zero bearing on, like, if you don't like what I'm doing, like I really couldn't care, and so how do I manage it? Is that I don't. I just do what I need to do, right? And like I don't know, like imagine being like a stubborn toddler. Like in your world, this is the only thing that I kind of need to do, right? And that's all that matters. And so I don't. There's a lot of things I don't care about, and I think there's a lot of things as a result of that I'm able to do and I'm free to do, because I don't hold myself back.
Has anything in particular surprised you?
Well, I mean, I could say the entirety of my last 4 years of singing. my goal when I started to sing, my first goal was to do an open mic and not be booed off stage. And that felt like what we call a stretch goal. I thought that is so, it's so likely to happen that someone is going to tell me to shut up and get off and that I'm terrible, right? And of course that doesn't happen. I've never heard of that ever happening, in those networks, right? But to now to kind of get we sell tickets to a show, we're on the radio hundreds of thousands of times. We've released stuff, and when I released my first single, which I thought no one would listen to, and it's got 17,000 streams, which for me again blows my mind. Radio support like what you guys do, and the latest one even got on one of the Triple J networks, stuff like that. It just blows my mind that is so far from what I even thought would even enter. And so, getting interstate festivals, getting any festival, but getting interstate festivals and stuff like that, people buying merch, Michael Ward is on T-shirts and people buy that shit. And so that whole thing blows me away. It also blows me away that despite the chaos that came for a period of time with separating, and not just from the person, but there's a huge disruption in lifestyle, life, networks, family, mutual friends, my sons, right? I am unbelievably grateful for how well my sons have handled this. They have seemed very forgiving, and they're still not sort of old or anything, and there's a lot that I'm sure is still yet for them to express and to understand with all of this. But that blows me away is things that I thought were so large and that I couldn't imagine there was no way out. In reality, they're it was far easier than what I should have thought it was.
You've sort of implied that you've let things evolve over the period of time and stuck to the things that make you feel good, where you want to be. How does that then set expectations for the future? Or are you very conscious of just letting the ball roll down the hill and see where it ends up?
Nah, man. I we fire. I feel to a degree, I feel relatively unstoppable and excited by not knowing how crazy this can escalate to. I sort of think if this is what I've done in 5 years, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? And the people that I've met and the support that we've had, on a lot of these fronts, right? From a musical point of view, I sort of think I will let myself expect that at some point in time in the next 5 years, we might sell a show with 500 tickets, right? And right now, we're nowhere near doing that. But the trajectory that we're on indicates that that's not unrealistic at all, right? I feel very sort of in the moment, but I'm very open to the fact that the future is completely mine to take.
You're a very hard-working artist. You play incredible volume of gigs, and you cover some miles, in particular through Western Australia, but also around Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's testament to this drive and this goal. Is there a way of harnessing that a little bit and focusing to get to that 500 ticket sale gig? Or do you think just by continually doing what you're doing, you'll get there?
100% there is a goal, and there's a strategy to that goal. which is something, by the way, that blows my mind that other artists I talk to, nearly every single other artist I talk to, doesn't have a path and a plan, right? And so, very specifically, if you think of like gigs within a zone, right? So it's a zone that's either brand new because you've never been there before. You're starting to establish it, or you're starting to build a real connection, right? And the current methodology is this: like, if we're going to somewhere first, we might get, it's either going to be a free entry gig, or it's going to be like a festival that we've kind of jagged somehow, but it's not going to be a ticketed sale kind of thing. But we're going to go there and we're going to do a rip-roaring job, and we will either work out this is the crowd, the venue that resonates with us, or they're not, right? And that's okay. Like, we don't need to win every crowd, we don't need to win every person to do this. And if it is a place that we like, and if we are getting good traction with people, and we feel like we're engaged there, then 100% within 6 months we want to be back. And if we can't get back there within 12 months at the latest, we probably shouldn't have gone there in the first place, right? And so it kind of started off like, you do gigs in Perth, your zone 1, and that's how it is, right? And then you kind of expand that little circle out, and all right, so let's go out to these next sort of peripheries, and that's kind of the plan that we've got. And yeah, I certainly feel like the ticketed shows that we've done around Perth, the Southwest, the Great Southern, support that strategy very well, right? On top of that, the work that we put into our show and the speed at which the show is escalating in its delivery, and the speed at which our promotion, if you like, overall brand is improving as well. I have total confidence that if we keep building those three things, the gigs, the show, and the way that we promote our brand, that the people will come.
Michael, thanks for sharing your story on Max's Island. The pivotal moment is obviously pretty real for you. The most important thing is that it's changed the trajectory of your life, changed the way you think about your life and the way you, I guess, feel about doing the things that really matter to you. Thanks very much for being on Max's Island, sharing that pretty raw story, but at the same time, one with an incredible amount of hope and future expectation.